Welcome again and thank you for joining us this morning. This is the Youth Talk session titled The Role of Young People in Achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. During this hour-and-a-half conversation, we look forward to an open dialogue where we will learn the importance of the Sustainable Development Goals, why they matter, and how we can all contribute to accomplish them. We will learn from our guest speaker and colleague, Teresa González, who has recently been appointed as a United Nations Young Leader for the Sustainable Development Goals. We will also have an opportunity to share the initiatives that you, as young persons, are already implementing and how these actions contribute to achieving global prosperity. Let me start. My name is Valerie Lorena. I'm the Executive Director of the Young Americas Business Trust. Let me start with some background information about YouthPower. YouthPower is a USA-funded project that aims to advance solutions that improve young lives. This is done through research and implementation development programs. YouthPower seeks to improve the capacity of youth-led and youth-serving organizations, as well as engaging young people, their families and communities, so that youth can reach their full potential. In doing so, YouthPower promotes positive youth development. Positive youth development recognizes youth's inherent rights that can result in youth having assets and being able to contribute to positive change for themselves and their communities, surrounded by an enabling environment that supports them. These are the key components of positive youth development. YouthPower has implementation projects and evaluation or assessment projects in a variety of countries. A big focus of the program is on identifying what works in youth programming that has a positive impact. For that end, YouthPower Learning has developed indicators to measure the success of youth programs. They have also developed a platform to share resources, events, and information along with 4 communities of practice. These communities of practice are created for practitioners to share knowledge, information, and to contribute in the development of research programs, assessments, other similar publications, as well as supporting the implementation of programs on the ground. The communities have launched grants focused to assisting youth-serving organizations, and we hope that you all consider joining one or more of the communities of practice, either Youth in Peace and Security, the Community of Practice focused on gender, youth engagement, or cross-sectoral skills. Along those lines, YouthPower Learning also launched the YouthTalks series. These series are designed to connect youth with prominent speakers and leaders in areas of interest. YouthTalks is an open platform for the participation and meaningful engagement of young people as they raise their concerns, opinions, and aspirations. During this session, you can also share your opinions via Twitter using the hashtag YPYouthTalks. Now let me introduce our guest speaker, Teresa González. Teresa is from Mexico and was recently appointed as a United Nations Young Leader for the Sustainable Development Goals. She has a Master in Cultural Engineering and earned a bachelor degree in Communications. As a social entrepreneur, she co-founded 2 organizations, Leader of Light Mexico and Fundación Cogelet. She has worked with diverse marginalized communities around the world, including indigenous, gypsies, and addicts. With experience in Mexico, Spain, India, and the USA, she is now working as a program officer with the Young Americas Business Trust. Teresa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Valerie, for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. How are you? I wish I could hear all of you, but I'm looking here at the chat. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Viridiana. Hi, Mamoon. Hi, Akarda, Deirdre, Fatima, Lorena. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you all today to share about the role that we as young people have in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. You can call me Tere. Friends always call me Tere. Um, and I hope after this webinar we are all friends. I'm originally from Mexico, but now I live in the United States, in Washington, D.C. And I'm right now with a coffee mug in a very cold morning, saying hello to everyone. First, I would like to start with a very brief and really brief overview on what is sustainable development, what are the sustainable development goals, just to set the floor and spark some conversation. This is going to be just a little test of what this is about, because I want to hear from you. We all want to hear your stories, and we have a very special guest with us today. So I apologize for the lack of time already, because this is a very broad topic that could keep us talking for hours, for days, or for months. Sustainable development is simply defined as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It sounds easy, but it's not that easy. We need to take a lot of action today to actually meet our needs in a responsible and sustainable way that doesn't represent an obstacle for future generations. Um, there are three different elements that we need to harmonize to actually achieve sustainable development. The first of all is economic growth. We need to eradicate poverty in all its forms and all dimensions, and this is an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. In the image that you can see, this could be from Mexico City, this could be from Mumbai, could be from actually almost any city where we live. Probably you've seen this landscape around you, a big contrast. A slum next to a big corporation building. This is no strange to us. So this is actually a call for this to end. There must be promotion of sustainable, inclusive, and equitable economic growth in order to achieve the sustainable development goals that I'm going to present later on. The second element to achieve sustainable development is social inclusion. Very graphic in this image. Everyone needs to have a piece of the cake. The size they need, the size according to their context, to their hunger, if we put it in terms of cake. But this means we need to create greater opportunities for all, reduce inequalities, and raise the basic living standards, fostering equitable social development, and above all, inclusion, of course. The third element is environmental protection. As you all know, we are under the threat of climate change, and we need to take action right now. This is the real thing. This is not a rehearsal. We need to take action now to promote integrated and sustainable management of our natural resources and ecosystems, even if it is below water, on land, on air. We need to connect all these elements, the ones that I mentioned: economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. All of them are interconnected, and all of them are crucial for the well-being of individuals and societies. So let's keep this in mind. This is the UN building, the UN Secretariat building, the headquarters in New York. And what you can see right there are, well, first of all, the flags of all the member states. But in the big wall, the one that is closer to us, you can see the icons of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm going to show them more clearly in the next slide. But this is what happened. As you probably heard last year in September, The world leaders made a commitment and adopted a multidimensional task for the next 15 years. We call that the Sustainable Development Goals. Uh, other names we use to call them shorter, like my name, for example, Teresa, but everyone calls me Tere. Well, we call the Sustainable Development Goals the SDGs, the global goals. And this is a common agenda to end poverty, fight inequalities, and tackle climate change. All of this by 2030. We are already 1 year into this agenda. Reflected in this agenda are 17 goals, which represent our shared vision of humanity and a social contract between the world's leaders and the people. This is what I'm talking about. These are the goals. You are probably already familiar with them. I just want to quickly name all of them so we don't forget anything. Goal number 1 is no poverty. 2, zero hunger. 3, good health and well-being. 4, quality education. 5, gender equality. 6, clean water and sanitation. 7, affordable and clean energy. 8, decent work and economic growth. 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. 10, reduced inequalities. 11, sustainable cities and communities. 12, responsible consumption and production. 13, climate action. 14, life below water. 15, life on land. 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. 17, partnerships for the goals. So the global goals are universal for all people everywhere, rich and poor alike, and they are contemplating the 3 elements that I mentioned before: economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. These goals consist on a new approach. After the lessons learned from the Millennium Development Goals, which were the predecessors of this set of goals, these goals represent a change. They are no longer business as usual because new solutions are needed to achieve prosperity. They are very ambitious. Yes, they are very ambitious, but it's an attainable plan. We need to be conscious about them because the cost of inaction is actually greater than the cost of action. They are also interconnected. This is an idea that I want for us to keep in mind throughout this webinar. All of these goals are interconnected. You cannot be working for quality education if you don't work for gender equality, or for example, to build sustainable cities if you don't consider responsible consumption and production, or climate action, affordable energy, or how to talk about eradicating poverty but without tackling hunger. So all of these are interconnected. They cut across social, economic, and environmental needs. For example, what I was mentioning, achieving education without gender equality, or hunger. Even if we talk about agriculture and we don't tackle climate change, we are putting at risk our food security. For the goals to be reached, everyone needs to do their part. Governments, the private sector, civil society, and especially people like you and me, young people. And even if you are not young, just people. Why does this matter to you or to youth? In order to achieve the SDGs, we must engage a generation of young people who know about the goals. First of all, we need to know what we're talking about. But above that, to care about the success of these goals and actively work towards their realization. Young people need to lead today to ensure they can live in prosperity tomorrow. The UN Youth Envoy, Ahmed Al-Endawi, always says that young people are the leaders of today, not the leaders of tomorrow. And I really believe that because, today the world is home to the largest generation of youth in history. We have 1.2 billion people between the ages of 15 and 24 worldwide. And this number is expected to continue to grow. Just between 2015 and 2030 alone, around 1.9 billion young people are projected to turn 15 years old. 1.9 billion young people. This is the largest generation of youth in history. And with all the inventiveness, the creativity, the critical thinking, and the innovation that youth bring to the table, this generation, I'm sure it will be the one passing the torch successfully on every issue, like name it climate change, peace, poverty, energy, and many other issues. We are becoming, and we are right now, torch bearers, like in the Olympics. I don't know if you ever dreamed of running with the torch in the Olympics. Well, this is your chance to run with a torch with the issue that you care about. As I mentioned before, this is not a rehearsal. We are already into this agenda. The real thing is happening right now, and the earlier we engage, the more impact we will have. I want to touch on 4 of the goals that I consider that are affecting youth around the world in a greater extent. Of course, all of these goals touch youth, and youth is actively involved, and we have youth-led projects working in all of these goals, but I want to focus on a few of them particularly today. When speaking about poverty, we have more than 500 million youth between the ages of 15 and 24 that are living on less than $2 a day. 500 million youth. But also, working poverty is affecting youth as well. This means youth that are working but are still below the poverty line. This is affecting 169 million youth. And if we include those living below $4 a day, the number increases to 286 million young people living in working poverty. This means that their work is not matching the market. Probably they didn't have the access, the right access to education, so their qualifications, if for example they went into training, are not matching the labor market. So they are working not with decent jobs. One of the goals that I mentioned before, the number 8, is decent work and economic growth. So this is definitely not happening for 286 million youth at least. In developing countries, an estimated of 2/3 of the youth are not fulfilling their economic potential. What do we need? We need to see youth as partners and work across generations, but we also need new and bold global partnerships to end poverty and all forms of malnutrition of young people. I also want to touch on quality education. This is key for youth, for our development, for our access to the labor market. Worldwide, there are 103 million young people that are illiterate. This is not possible in the 21st century. 225 million youth, or let's say 20% of all youth in the developing world, are not in education, employment, or training, what we call usually with the acronym NEET, N-E-E-T. In 17 conflict-affected countries, 9 out of 10 of the poorest young women have not completed primary school. 9 out of 10 women in conflict-affected countries couldn't complete primary school. And also, This is very important because we are facing a refugee crisis. Less than 1% of youth who become refugees due to conflict have access to tertiary education. Less than 1%. And this is something that I found really interesting and overwhelming at the same time. Ensuring basic literacy and numeracy skills for young people in low-income countries could lift 171 million people out of poverty. I don't know, but this what this number tells you, but for me, it means we need to take action now. Just with basic literacy and numeracy, lifting this amount of people out of poverty. Now, I think we need to talk about gender equality. This is basic nowadays. Around 60% of the world's chronically hungry are women and girls. When women and girls over 16 earn income, they usually reinvest 90% of it in their families, compared to men who reinvest only 30 to 40%. You probably are aware that globally women earn 24% less than men for the same kind of job, and 32% of businesses have no women in senior management positions. Also, speaking about health, young women between 15 and 24 years old are as much as 8 times more likely than men to be HIV positive. We are speaking about access to healthcare, we are speaking about sexual and reproductive rights. 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partner, and this starts in the very early years of teenagers. There are only 1 in 5 parliamentarians that are women. In 37 countries, women account for less than 10% of parliamentarians. And here's another interesting statistic. If women farmers had the same access to resources as men, the number of hungry in the world could be reduced by up to 150 million. This is why youth must stand up. We need to stand up as a determined generation to end discrimination and violence against girls and women. There are many initiatives out there, many campaigns, but this is something that we can start in our everyday life, in the language that we use, how we express ourselves. Sometimes it is just culturally immersed. Terms, phrases, jokes that are misogynist, that are discriminating. Decent work and economic growth. I think this goal is key for youth development. There are 73 million youth that are unemployed. 2/3 of youth in developing economies are NEETs, what we explained before, not engaged in education, not in training, not in work. 2/3 of youth in developing economies. This is holding our countries back. This is holding youth back, but also the future generations from having a better life quality. As I mentioned before, 286 million of employed youth live on less than $4 a day. This is not a decent work. An extra year of secondary school, for example, boosts girls' eventual wages by 15% to 25%. Just an extra year of secondary school. Picture that. the global economy will need to create 600 million jobs over the next 10 years. This means 5 million jobs each month, just to simply keep the pace with the projected youth employment rates that we have right now. A young person without a decent job means someone left behind. And the Sustainable Development Goals are meant to bring everyone forward, not to leave anyone behind. But a young person that is not able to fulfill their basic needs means that is behind. Someone that is not seeing the achievement of the SDGs in their own life. I want to share this quote from the General Director from the International Labour Organization. If we fail to tackle the youth job crisis, we know we have a crisis, we will be destroying hopes for sustainable growth. It can seem obvious, but we are not doing it. If it's so obvious, what is happening? Why our study plans and curriculum is not matching the needs of the labor market, for example? Why are we not bolstering and empowering young entrepreneurs from any region? There's innovation, there is entrepreneurial thinking everywhere, in every corner of the world. There's talent everywhere. Climate action. Also, one of the key elements. Remember, I mentioned environmental protection as one of the pillars of the sustainable development. Well, just let's picture this. Close to 500,000 youth around the world have taken action on climate change. 500,000 youth. This is amazing. How they are taking action through their own programs with small grants programs, for example. The UN has many resources to support your endeavors. The Young America's Business Trust itself. So there is almost 500,000 youth already doing something to have a healthy planet, to have a healthy home. Without a healthy planet, we cannot achieve any of the other goals. If our planet dies, we die. So the other goals are obviously not happening. Climate change potentially represents a major threat to the health and socioeconomic stability of youth, particularly those in developing countries. Why? Because 80% of young people live there in developing countries, and these are the most threatened countries. For example, the Caribbean is one of the regions at risk right now, just to disappear by flooding. Other regions, for example, in Africa or in South America, are being affected by drought. If you are interested in this topic, there are many resources out there, but you probably heard about the 2 degrees. If the temperature on Earth increases 2 degrees, we're going to face serious consequences. The level of our oceans is going up. We won't have enough resources. This is going to affect agriculture. Therefore, our food access. Sorry. I'm really sorry. Guess what? We have a motion light, and since I wasn't moving that much, it went off. Also, I wanted to share with you a few numbers on a survey that the United Nations Environment Program did. This is very interesting. 80% of young people that participated in this initiative agreed that they need more information to prevent climate change. So if there's a lack of information and the resources are out there, something is happening in between. Young people like you have access to probably a computer, a smartphone. The resources are out there. I'm going to share a few at the end where you can gather information, numbers, etc., not only about climate change, but about many other goals and issues that are affecting youth. 73% of youth said that they currently feel the effects of climate change in their communities. But also, 89% of youth said that young people can make a difference on climate change. And I really believe that, because youth are key actors in leading projects for climate action, on raising awareness. Youth are the most visible right nowadays on social media, for example, those that have access, let's say, on promoting sustainable lifestyles. We can see what they wear, what they buy, what they like, the stories they are sharing. They are supporters, usually, of renewable energy, and the first ones to adopt environmentally friendly practices. And I want to make a special emphasis today on this goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Young people represent over 1/3 of populations displaced by conflict and disasters. Young women make up 30% of armed forces and armed groups worldwide. It is very hard to get numbers once conflict has aroused a country, but an estimated of 100,000 girls under 18 were fighting in armed conflicts globally. %43 of all homicide victims are between 15 and 29 years old. So we should reflect on the role of youth as victims of conflict, of war, but also we need to talk about youth that are joining, for example, extremist groups. In many countries, you probably know this, the general causes of delinquency are poverty, family conditions, and low level of education, which relates to the goals that we were talking about before. An estimated of 180 adolescents die every day as a result of interpersonal violence. Youth are essential for peace-building efforts. Young people can and should run for office. There's an amazing new campaign from the UN Youth Envoy's office that is called Not Too Young to Run. I recommend you to check it out, because young people are underrepresented in public service, and they can and they should run, and we need to empower each other to run together. If you are a communicator, you can build a campaign for a young person, or a young man, a young woman that is pursuing a political career. You can join efforts, and we should do that. We should be doing that. We should be speaking out and being not just invited at the table, but actually a part of the table, a real part of the table. Young people need fair and transparent access to justice systems, and to enforce and protect their rights. I wanted to share this resource just in case you don't see yourself leading an initiative out there and being an activist. There's also the Lazy Person's Guide to Save the World. The link is right there. If you just Google it, this is a resource that the UN published recently for everyone that wants to take action. There are 3 levels. One is from your couch. So if you don't want to leave your house, you just want to stay on your couch, there are actions that you can take from there to support the Sustainable Development Goals and their achievement. The second level is inside your house. You can take actually a lot of actions, for example, recycling inside your house. And the third level is outside your house. I just recommend you to check it out. These are a few resources that, if you are interested in the topic, there are images, there are speeches, there are numbers, statistics, social media banners, videos. There are so many resources for you to engage with the Sustainable Development Goals. And if you are on this webinar, it's probably because you have regular access to internet. So please use this. These are just very basic ones. This social media that you can see here, these social media outlets, and the app SDGs in Action is also very useful. You can share what you are doing with other youth, with other people around the world. I recommend you to download it. And I have a very special guest today, Mamoun Mahaini. Mamoun is a very active young person. He was born in Damascus, in Syria. I told you I wanted to emphasize on youth as peace builders. Goal number 16. Mamoun comes from Syria. He is currently studying law. He has worked for organizations that support refugees, such as the Hand in Hand Project and Save the Children. And I invited Mamoun today to share with us how is it to be a young person coming from Syria and pursuing a dream to become a lawyer, but also a very active young person that was engaged on supporting people from Syria while he wasn't able to be there. So I really want for us to hear directly from Mamoun his experience, his thoughts on how youth can take real and concrete action to build peace. Mamoun, the floor is yours.
Hello. I hope everyone can hear me. Thank you, Sarah, for introducing me. I really enjoyed your discussion, some very relevant points you were talking about. I think Syria can be a very good example of what happens when you fail youth. As of the latest census, 55% of the Syrian population was under the age of 25. So most of the largest part of the population was in fact youth. Now the problem is the youth, especially when failed, are very vulnerable and susceptible to the wrong kinds of influences. If they are empowered by their government and presented with the right opportunities, they can achieve great things. However, when they're neglected, disenfranchised, disenchanted by their government, things can go very bad. I'll explain about that later in a bit. But first, I also want to bring out two other very relevant points Terry was talking about. Let's say the environment. So a lot of countries that have the larger portion of their country to be youth actually have economies dependent on agriculture and natural resources. That means when there's such issues as global warming, that harms the nature of their economy, forcing their which makes the lives of the youth even harder. Another relevant point is gender rights. So there are studies that suggest that when you advance the position of a woman within her society, give her more accessibility to the employment market, better education, that will make the fertility rate better. When you give women more power over their lives and more autonomy, they the way the families are brought up, it's about quality rather than quantity, because women are willing to invest more in their family than men. Unfortunately, in societies where women are marginalized, they have high fertility rates. which means they get populations at a exponential rate. And this is a big challenge for many governments. If most of your population is young people, how are you going to get the funds to teach them, give them an education, give them some employment? And this was a big problem in the Middle East, not just in Syria, in many other Middle Eastern countries. The economy is mostly based on agriculture, so it was being harmed by global warming. The situation of women is bad. There needs to be much progress on that, and ultimately governments have failed to properly address their concerns and interests of the youth. The youth in other countries, especially democracies, have this very beautiful opportunity to engage with the governments. They are the ones that have the most opportunities to go to the streets, protest, demonstrate, put pressure on their representatives to pursue their interests. However, when you don't listen to the youth, very dark forces can fill the void, and unfortunately, this has been a key factor in Syria. If I'm opening the floor to questions, or if anyone else wants the mic, go ahead.
Mamun, I think would be amazing if you can share, for example, what you did in Hand project in Lebanon, cooperating with to help people in Syria. Could you tell us about your experience leading that project?
Yeah, I'll do that. But first, I just saw I'll respond to that. But I just saw a comment by Noah, I think, and he's talking about that a lot of recruits for ISIS have people coming from backgrounds where they have stable jobs and a steady economy. To be honest, I'm not a counterterrorism expert, and I wouldn't be surprised that's true. However, these people, these are people that are coming to Syria. These aren't Syrians. I can talk about Syrians themselves who have went into these organizations, but about people coming from other countries to Syria, I think that's another story. In regards to what the Hand in Hand organization did, I started this organization with my friend in 2012. This was just at the beginning of the Syrian conflict and the beginning of the refugee crisis, if you will. Back then, it wasn't receiving the same attention it was receiving right now because it didn't affect the Europeans just yet. It was a eye-opening experience because it exposed many people who wanted war, wanted conflict, who were hot-blooded, and see what it did to the victims of war, usually coming from poor backgrounds. So you get volunteers. The volunteers are usually, of course, from more affluent backgrounds, schools, universities. And we would take them to some of the refugee camps, and if you can see the terrible standards they live in, that make you think twice about what advocating for war means. And unfortunately the conflict was too large for such a simple project. But I met many of my volunteers, and they were really thankful for what we did. We got many volunteers from abroad, and the best part about it was it was our own initiative. We were our own managers essentially.
Mamun, what do you think youth should be doing in Syria? What should the diaspora do? What young people could do? The ones that are still in Syria, what could they do? What actions do you see that are possible in the peace building efforts?
Well, the thing is, I think this is a question it's not really dependent on the youth. The youth need to, especially now, put pressure on the parties in Syria to seize all armed operations as of now. Unfortunately, it's the youth who are taking part in these operations. This is the problem here is all of this should have been avoided a long time ago. This is a problem that kept bigger and bigger and bigger until we failed to challenge it. We don't know how to challenge it right now because we neglected it for too long, and it snowballed and it finally became without our control. Um, Unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, but right now the conflict in Syria is not really in the hands of Syrians themselves. It's about the powers that are funding this war.
Mamun, what advice would you have for young people living in conflict zones or coming from conflict zones? What would be your recommendation, piece of advice for them to keep their efforts as peace builders?
Well, listen, whenever it's about when you come to, let's say, policy making, or when you're making demands from your government, it's always good to take into account the interests of others. And in terms of diplomacy, um, one problem we had in Syria was people from very different parts of the political spectrum were not willing to listen to each other, and the polarization got very bad. We are literally killing each other right now. It is always good to make use of civil actions, civil demonstrations, civil disobedience. Violence. I think Syria is a very good example of seeing how violence can go very bad. Civil disobedience, civil action, peaceful, whatever. Stick to that, because once you enter violence, you are opening a door that cannot be closed.
Hello, Mamu.
I'm gonna
This is
answer a question
Valerie.
to Vinayak.
Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
well, now what can we reach? Well, to be honest, right now, I wish this was something. This is a question that should have been asked a long time ago. Unfortunately, I think right now we are seeing towards more or less the end of the conflict. Just today, the city of Aleppo fell. Um, Really, right now we need. What would be awesome if we can put pressure on the Security Council, the people that are least likely to listen to you, to, let's say, implement a sort of monitoring plan on how changes will be implemented in Syria. But I don't know if they'll listen to us. Like I said, this is something that we should avoid. How to manage this crisis? It's really in the hands of like big bodies like the Security Council right now.
Just to add to that, there was on December, exactly 1 year ago, the UN Security Council made a resolution on youth peace and security. There's information online about it. Of course, from the resolution to action, there is a long road to go, but I would recommend you all, if you are interested in that topic, the United Network of Young Peace Builders has a toolkit on that resolution about particularly youth peace and security, actions that are suggested and that can be taken in this topic, and to actually prioritize the participation of youth in the peace building efforts. It's called the resolution. Let me tell you the number. Resolution 2250 from the Security Council, and you should definitely have a look, Vinayak, if you want to. I want just to thank you, Mamun, for sharing this experience. I want to strongly convey the message that youth empowerment is both a human rights imperative and a smart investment in sustainable development and peace. We would like to hear more from you. So, Valerie, I don't know if you can help us to raise these comments, questions, and listen to more young people that are here with us today. If you have any questions for Mamoon or me. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much, Tere, for very enlightening presentation, for sharing with us the importance of the SDGs. I think it was very important to set some tone in the conversation. I also want to thank Mamoon for presenting his experience and sharing with us some resources as well for responding as candid as possible as he did our questions. We have seen in the chat there is a very passionate conversation going on, and we encourage you to continue exchanging through the chat. But would also like to open the microphone and open the floor to the audience. If anyone here connected would like to do an intervention or share their actions in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We have read some in the chat from Grenada. We understand some other participants are connected and we're interested in sharing. So at this point, I would like to open the floor to start the conversation, and I encourage everybody to take advantage that Tere is here with us. You can also ask her questions in regards of resources, connections, and platforms. So if anybody is interested in sharing their experiences at the national level, at their community level, this is the moment we're going to start the microphone. So please, as indicated at the beginning of the conversation, if you would like to share, please click on the raise hand icon on the upper level of your screen. We will open the microphone from here, but you also have to make sure that you then click on the microphone. Once it's green, this means you can talk. So I have here in the chat Alpha Zenon from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to open the microphone for you, Alpha. After that, just make sure you click on the microphone icon so you can intervene. So we will open the microphone. Okay, the microphone has been open for use, Alpha. You just need to make sure you click on your screen, on your platform. Click on the microphone icon. Once in screen, it means you can intervene. So go ahead. We can hear you. Just speak a little bit louder, please. I'm sorry to interrupt, Alpha. I think you need to adjust your microphone volume. Next to the green icon, there is an arrow where you can adjust your microphone volume. We can hear you very, very low, so if you would like to adjust that for us, please. It's still very low. Let's try to adjust it again. From your end, you need to. Okay. Hello, Alpha. No, it's very, very low. Maybe trying to speak very loud and very close to the microphone after adjusting it in the control panel. One more try. Yes.
Is it any better now?
Much better. Okay, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So, Right, so hi guys, I was saying that I'm Alpha from Trinidad and Tobago, representing a non-governmental organization called YFAM, and it means we help youth farm, right? I'm also part of a very active group in the Caribbean called the Caribbeans. It's actually in the form of a WhatsApp group right now, and it's basically a collection of a lot of young agripreneurs in the Caribbean, and we are over 77 members and strong right now. The group ranges from different persons doing different things in agriculture that affects positively our food security in the Caribbean. So my question is now, how it so since the group have been started in January, hailing from all different Caribbean islands, as I said, our challenges have been how do we actually get public and government and private sector involvement to achieve some of our goals. And I invited some persons from the group to be here today. Some persons are actually tuned in right now, like Celia from Grenada. And, we have been trying to keep this group together because it's honestly, for me, it's the best thing that has happened to youth in agriculture in the Caribbean, the ability to work together, to collaborate together. But now, it's only so much that we can do as young people with the limited resources that we have. So I would just like to ask for any suggestions and actually helping us to be able to, what I maybe form this into an official organization where we can break barriers across borders in the Caribbean. We can exchange goods and services. We can share each other food, right? And actually put goods together to actually import to the rest of the world and whatnot, because there are a lot of young people doing very great things there, and we want to be able to at least look at one of the sustainable developmental goals, right, and achieve that. So I'm just asking for any suggestion right now, as I'm here to actually take back good information to the group. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alpha. This is Tere. I'm sure the group has tips. I just wanted to jump in to share with you a few ideas that could work. I don't know if you have already prepared resources, materials about your project. For example, very simple stuff: one pager, a toolkit, have a social media channel. That's a very visible way for you to engage with other actors, with other stakeholders, and like just digitally. That's one way. Also, I recommend you to have a look to the UN Youth Envoy webpage. There are always opportunities, for example, for funding, and also opportunities to connect with governments to bring your voice, for example, to the ECOSOC Youth Forum that is going to happen in January at the UN. There are still chances to participate virtually or in person. I recommend you to have a look at that if you want to actually have a seat at the table and a say to make your thoughts go to government. The Young Americas Business Trust, where I work, and I offer you our resources and our channels. Please write to us. We have many channels for you to engage with government, for example, because we work in close collaboration with the Organization of American States, where your government is represented. So that could be a way. We have the Young Forum of the Americas, where young people can come to the forefront with their priorities. And another thing, if you are an agripreneur or a network of youth farmers, for example, an option could be to participate in the Caribbean Innovation Competition. That would apply perfectly to you, or the Talent and Innovation Competition, that is a broader competition. These are chances for you to showcase what you are doing, not only with other entrepreneurs, but especially with representatives from high-level representatives from international organizations and governments too. But I'll let the group to give you more tips.
Thank you very much. Tere, go ahead.
You saw that Alpha already signed up, which makes me very happy. I guess he's talking about the competition. Thank you, Alpha.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the response to Alpha's question, Tere. I would like to offer youthpower.org as the platform where we can access resources. We are going to be compiling those being shared right now through the chat, and also the toolkit that Tere mentioned. We can commit to post it in youthpower.org as a resource, as a resource toolkit that you can download and make available, as well as other information as the competitions and the programs that Tere mentioned the Young Americans Business Trust has for young people. We have seen a lot of interventions through the chat. I would like to also invite you to use your microphone if you would like to be part of this conversation. We will open the microphone for you. I understand Deidre Lee Keen, she was interested in making a question to you, Tere, so I'm going to ask to habilitate her microphone to Deidre Lee Keen. Anyone else who would like to share with us today, please click on the raise hand icon and we will make sure to open the microphone for you. Also through the chat is a very good option, a very good platform, but I invite you to take advantage to connect directly with your audience and your colleagues connected today. Deidre, the microphone is open for you. Please let us know if you're ready. In the meantime, I would like to read the conversation going on in the chat. I think it's very important also to sometimes our audience is not able to have a microphone or it's not working. That's why the chat is habilitated for them. We have someone from Grenada who is stating her contribution is to goal number 5, which is focused on gender empowerment. She works with young adolescents who are single mothers, and she teaches these young people skills on how to create businesses and sustain their families. Sorry. She's asking how can she join networks to strengthen this action. I think a few of these networks were already mentioned, but I would like to connect again with Tere if she knows of additional gender-focused or gender-specific networks that she could connect or empower. One of the responses I will share right now is to join with the community of practice of YouthPower focused on gender. We have one community of practice with practitioners where we're sharing resources, where we're sharing information and events, and also the communities of practice have launched grants under contract to support youth serving organizations. So you can take a look at the requirements through youthpower.org. In the meantime, I would like to also invite you again, if you would like to intervene, just click on the raise hand icon, or how we have been doing through the chat. I will be happy to be reading your interventions. Tere, do you have any additional resource for gender empowerment, perhaps that you can share with us?
Sure, Val. I think it will be important that you check out the efforts that UN Women and UNICEF are doing to empower young girls and adolescents and women but also this particular campaign that is called He for She. I think that approach is very interesting because it's not only about empowering the female side of the story, but also to empower the male side of the story, to work with boys, with young men, to actually be active and stand up and speak up for gender equality. So I think that approach will be very helpful, and there are many networks around that specific initiative that are coming up. I think there is also a network called Young Men for Gender Equality, and I'm sure that if you start looking through UN Women and He for She, you'll find something accurate for what you are looking for.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Tere. Mohammed Chadley has raised his hand. I'm asking our control panel to habilitate the microphone for him. Mohammed, the floor is yours. Mohammed, once we have opened the microphone from our control panel, you need to click on the icon on the upper level of the platform of your screen. You will see an icon for a microphone. Once that is green.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Chadley, and I'm from Morocco. So today I would like to share my experience as a young peace builder in Morocco. I have already taught English classes and Model United Nations trainings for like teenager students and high school students. That would be an opportunity to lead them and show them how UN and Model United Nations does in the world. So we had like 12 training in Morocco, and then we organized a conference in Arabic, and that were the first Arabic language conference in Morocco. We hosted the Moroccan UN delegates, and that was a big honor for us. So that is my experience in Model United Nations. And also I participate in Global Arts for Peace, doing like exchange stuff with students from abroad, like from universities in the United States and Europe, and that will be I get involved with the group of students to participate in this initiative, and that was really amazing. So for sustainable development goals, that were my goals for this initiative of sustainable development, because I consider like everyone works in other domains like climate change, environment, peace building, like poverty and marginalizing the minorities. I consider all of these topics are very important to held by the young people, and I also try to do like a small organization or association. So I would like to question Mrs. Ter if she could give me some resources on how to do organization or association. It would be either local or international. It would be amazing. So I just want to know some resources on how to create it and how can I promote it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. This is a very interesting question on how you guys at the national level and your community, how you can organize or perhaps create an association. That's what, from my understanding. I would also like to let Tere answer this based on her experience organizing community level and the Fundación Cogelet. So you can learn very specific way of action. So would like to open the microphone for Tere on how she did it, and we hope this can be a good resource or a good lesson learned for you as well.
Thank you. This makes me very excited because that's something that I've been through in Mexico, for example. The way I started very young at 15, 16 years old. We didn't have an organization set up. We were not legally formed or anything like that. We actually started as an informal group of people that were working in communities, especially doing art and providing alternative leisure activities and training for communities that didn't have access to any kind of, for example, outside of the school support, or access to a dance class or to sports, or even to a psychological assessment or orientation. So we started literally doing theater on the streets and talking about basic social rights, and listening to people through theater. We saw the need after a few years, a couple of years, to legally form the organization. Why? Because we needed to access resources. On every country, there are different laws and different regulations to form a civil society organization, an NGO, or the figure that you have in mind. But I don't know about your country, but I would recommend you to have a very strong grassroots and members base. So when the moment comes when you do the fundraising or gather the resources and do the paperwork to actually form a legally recognized organization, you don't have any trouble taking the next step. So I recommend you to be ready and to have very strong bonds with your beneficiaries, or with the communities or the causes that you are working on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tere. Once again, these resources are very valuable, and we are compiling them in order to share with the audience. This conversation is going to be also available as a recording, so you can always come back to it for more information. I think we have time for one last intervention. If anyone from the audience would like to take advantage of these last minutes to connect with Tere and connect with your colleagues and your fellow young people in this platform, we encourage you to do it now. I would like to go back and try. Oh, we were going to try with Deidre again, but I don't see her connected. So perhaps, well, if anyone would like to do a last intervention right now, would be a good moment. Otherwise, the chat also works as well. In the meantime, I'm going to share with you some steps of what can we do next. We have an open channel, an open conversation going on to Twitter. Please continue learning more about the topic and more about the SDGs through this channel. Young people are very passionate about connecting through social media, so we try to catch up with you guys in this regard. So contribute to Twitter and spread the voice about positive youth development. We also encourage you to visit the Learning Hub youthpower.org. Explore the resources, explore the best practices. There's a lot of knowledge being shared in the platform. Click on every link. I assure you, you will find something interesting, some toolkit resource that you can, it's going to be very beneficial for you and your organization. You can also apply for one of the grant under contracts that are going to be available for youth serving organizations in the upcoming year. So all this information will be available at youthpower.org. Also, you can join one of the communities of practice, or the 4 of them. Please let us know, and we will be more than glad to guide you how to be part of the communities of practice. In the communities of practice, you connect with other practitioners like yourself. You share information, they share resources. The idea is that these communities of practice at the end help designing programs, they help in drafting papers, resources, assessments. It's very interesting to be part of one of the communities of practice. You can also register on the Learning Hub, and you can share your own reports, your studies, your findings, your actions towards the SDGs. Either you share a blog or you share an event that you're organizing at the community or the national level. We will be more than happy to see it in the platform, because this youthpower.org platform is for you. So I don't see any more hands raised. A lot of interventions through the chat, and I want to thank you again for participating in the session. We look forward to continue the conversation with you all, and I would like to especially thank Tere for sharing with us and joining us this morning. We look forward to learning more from her. She's been a fantastic young leader and very inspiring to a lot of us. Thank you, everybody. Until next time.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure to share with you all. And I'm going to leave here a link with a video that is going to pop up in your screens. Colin and Nacho, if you can help us share this video. The SDGs are meant to be a party, a celebration, and we need to talk about them, tell everyone. So please stay with this video and see you next time.